And as we begin to settle, invoke your curiosity for what is happening right now. Welcoming yourself as you are. Letting yourself be open to life exactly as it is in this moment. Today, I'd like to share a few reflections as we move into our meditation, and then we'll simply enter some silence together before opening up the field to group sharing, group inquiry. And so as you settle in today, just being here, body and breath as anchor, allowing your awareness to organically expand with each breath that you take. Consider that in the dominant paradigm, we tend to cling to certainty in a way that ensures suffering. We cling to the notion of certainty in a way that closes out or shuts down possibility. We tend to cling to certainty in such a way so that I might pit my certainty against you and yours. I might impose what I feel certain about with no room for collaboration, shared investigation, genuine conversation. Meditation practice, the Dharma, invites us to go beyond certainty, to actually consider finding a freedom beyond certainty. This begins with finding the willingness to meet the unknown with an open heart and genuine curiosity. And so consider, as we continue to settle in to meditation, the opportunity to meet with an open heart, the unknown, the mystery, not knowing. Instead of meeting life from the positionality of certainty, we might say the fullness. We fill ourselves up with certainty. We invite ourselves into meditative inquiry, We hold the question and the questions that powerfully evoke our presence, our openness, our receptivity. And so a very foundational inquiry in practice. What is happening now? And how am I relating to it? What is happening right now as I sense and listen with my whole being? And how am I relating to it? We don't try to go after or grasp the answer. We don't try to fill in empty space. Instead, we let ourselves settle even more fully into the groundlessness, the spaciousness of this moment. And we simply allow through our sensing, our deep listening, we allow a response to our question to emerge. Maybe we notice what is happening right now when we bring subtle awareness to it. Is a gentle, rhythmic undulation of breath moving through body. Maybe we notice a slight tremor of fear. Maybe we're aware of the quiet rhythm of interconnection in the space within and out. Just the palpable experience of interconnection. And the question of how are we being with that? How are we relating with that? Are we relating with openness? Generous receptivity? Being willing to fully be here with what is. Not needing to exit the moment by coming to conclusion, by clinging to certainty, by circling the cognitive mind, but really practicing resting in the mystery, resting in the unfolding. This is how we remember that we are at home in the unfolding. So just rest here as you listen. Body and breath as anchor. Awareness expanding organically with each breath that we take. Nothing to make happen. Nothing to do or solve or fix. Nothing to push away. Consider that in the moment, everything is inviting you home. The gentle touch of air on your skin, the weight and tears of our shared heartbreak, everything is calling you home, reminding you of a deeper belonging. So as we continue to meditate, just allow yourself to soften effort and rest here, allowing space for the deeper rhythms to be felt. Nothing to do but rest with what is. Consider that the habit of clinging to certainty with the mind is just a substitute for the deeper knowing, the bone deep sense of belonging and interconnection and non-separation. That is our birthright. You might just notice where your attention is right now, and if it's wandered into thought and story, gently but firmly bring yourself back here. Give yourself permission to rest here. What is happening now? And how am I relating to it? Am I resisting or judging that tremor in my body? Am I opening to consciously allowing life as it is to move through? Beyond certainty is the teacher of darkness, the mystery from which everything arises and everything will return to. The mystery that is the backbone of every moment, the field of all possibility. To learn to turn towards and rest into with reverence the mystery itself. This is the heart of meditation. And in these times of global uncertainty and disruption, this is a perfect opportunity to remember our awe for the unknown, to let ourselves feel held by the unknown, not to substitute it for the habit of certainty. Please begin now to allow your breath to deepen. Simply aware as you ride your breath all the way to the top and all the way back down. Be open to 360 degrees awareness. Aware through the front, the back, the sides of your body. Being curious rather than certain about where your physical body ends and the space around you begins. And let's gently now together rest a hand at the center of your heart. And please turn your attention to gratitude. Acknowledging in this moment in time when there is so much pain, so much disruption, what is it that you feel genuine gratitude for, and how does it feel to fill your body with gratitude for that which you do not take for granted? Please be sure to include yourself in your circle of appreciation. Just acknowledging what it takes to show up to practice. And let's take in a couple more deep breaths together. Okay, so again, welcome, and let's all remain in the field of deep listening, receptivity, curiosity, inquiry, as we begin to move into our group discussion. So this will be a time when you are welcome to share any questions, any reflections, knowing that we learn so much from one another's sharings. And I'd like to name a few things before we dive in, but I see someone posted a little bit of background noise, and can I get some feedback if that has cleared up? So maybe to write down in the chat box if that has cleared up for us. Just wanting to make sure the sound is loud and clear before we continue. Okay, thank you, Magdalena. So today, this will be the final grounding session before a pause begins. I was going to hold these sessions until the end of July before I move into a sabbatical for the month of August and part of September. But I've had something arise next week that I need to be present for. And so today will be our final day. And I want to share so much gratitude because it has been so meaningful to hold this space and to connect with all of you bi-weekly during this time of COVID-19. At the very beginning, in early March, just as things were getting started, meditation student named Sarah Rodell in New York reached out to me and said, Eden, people in my community are struggling. If I host it, would you be willing to share this bi-weekly? And we began, and I want to really acknowledge Sarah and Carly, who have been hosting this for the Spirit of Generosity in their own time. I want to acknowledge Rachel and Lauren and Catherine, people who have come on to assist with the Q&A sessions. And I want to acknowledge that never before have I felt so much gratitude for this quality of technology in which we can connect together in a very real and vulnerable and together way in the name of we consciousness. I'm going to post just a few links in the chat box, and these links are ways that you can continue to work with me in the time that is to come. So I'll name that beginning in August 2nd, I believe, I'm holding an 8-week course called Presence, Courage, Collective Awakening. We'll meet for an hour and 15 minutes every Sunday at noon Eastern Time. And this is an extraordinary opportunity in a smaller group to go much deeper in your own embodiment of presence and relational intelligence of love. And I'm offering it for a donation basis. So go to the link if you want to join me. All sessions are recorded if you can't be there for all of them. And if you don't have the amount that's suggested as donation, but you feel called to be there, write me an email. Don't let that be an impediment. There's also a link for my deepening practice program. And so that allows you, just for a small donation, $20 a month or more if you want a personal session, to be part of a global community of practitioners and to receive a ton of audio and video recordings and things like that. And then there's also a link for a video teaching about Dana, the practice of generosity and donations and some of the subtleties around that. So that said, I see someone posted a question right here. And I want to affirm that my intention is to open these back up again sometime mid-September. As a practitioner of Zen, my commitment is to staying in the moment and listening deeply. So I'll be doing that. And when I know that it's time to start this off again, you will be notified as long as you're on the grounding email list or my personal list. Rachel, would you be willing to start off reading the first question?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Can you please share a bit about the relationship between desire, craving, and clinging with respect to turning towards and turning away?
Absolutely. So it's a vast topic, desire, craving, and clinging with respect to turning towards rather than away. I think I'd like to speak to it a bit indirectly, just to name that. And such a foundation of this practice is learning to know ourselves more deeply and learning to be clear about what's operating us, which is conditioning, which is habit pattern, which is not so helpful, which might come from egoic agenda of escaping this moment or affirming the idea of utopia. Lama Rod Owens, a friend of mine, speaks so beautifully about this idea of utopia, which we hold in our minds as there's always something better out there. There's somewhere better to be. There's some better experience to be having. There's somewhere more positive to get to. There's something to fix and solve and change. This notion of utopia, there's a better me somewhere. Maybe meditation will help me find it. And the actual translation of utopia is nowhere, like non-existent. This place is a fantasy. And I bring that up because sometimes when we're exploring the force of clinging and wanting and desire, sometimes it's coming from that place of the egoic habit pattern to just skip out on being here, skip out on being here. And the other place through which what we might call desire can be coming from is our much deeper self. For instance, I can say that there is a deep, burning spiritual desire which drives my practice to affirm and remember my vibrant aliveness and oneness with everything that exists, moment by moment. So there are different forms of desire, right? One of the things that I love about practice is that it really helps us to know the self more deeply, to, as I said, be clear about what's running us, so we know what to listen to. So that when there's a moment when maybe, let's say, the desire to fill ourselves that might be coming from addiction or from an underlying fear of being with the experience we're actually having, being with a feeling that feels overwhelming, until we learn how to turn towards it and really rest with it. We learn how to discern between that and what is actually helpful. Like there is a desire to be awake that supports me to show up wholeheartedly to my life each day and to show up with willingness even to those activities that someone in here might be saying, I don't want to. I'd rather just check out or go to sleep, okay? And then the other nuance that I'd like to bring into this, I think, is simply that there's sometimes quite a misunderstanding among spiritual practitioners that I've witnessed about attachment. And so there is all these teachings that say, don't be attached, don't be attached. And therefore people can easily, before they've done more deep investigation, create an unhelpful definition to that and think that it means pushing away attachments, and that means relationships. Nope, that's going to be an impediment. And that might mean something like pushing away sexuality or sensual pleasure. That might mean pushing away something that actually feels that my heart is calling me to it. So I want to make one clarification and just say that that's not at all what non-attachment is about. That's not it. It means in this moment, in this naked moment, right here as I am I attaching to concepts, to labels, to conditioning? Am I free to be here in open awareness with life as it is, and then to let life help me navigate and make choices that are in deepest alignment, okay? And alignment with my deepest intention is another way to say it. So I hope that I spoke a bit to your inquiry. I know I responded to it indirectly, but I think it's such a many-layered question. Thank you for that. And maybe let's just all pause in between questions and connect within. Notice how each person's question and the answers land with you, what they touch on in you. Okay, let's continue.
Question from Sarah Klingstedt. Hi, Eden. I've got some questions around fear. Why does fear exist? What is the essence of it? Why does form and fear walk hand in hand? Why does form try to protect itself with fear? I'd be very grateful for your reflections around this theme. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hi, Sarah. Nice to see you here. And I'm smiling to myself because as I come from the Zen tradition, we tend to invite curiosity when we ask why questions rather than going right to response to answering why questions. So I would invite you to consider and to look within and see who is asking this question. Who wants to know? What would knowing the answer to these why questions give you? How would you then get to feel if you, quote unquote, understood fear more? And so to go a little bit deeper, and it's so important to address fear and to have more understanding around fear, but not to think that that understanding itself can be cognitive rather than experiential, or that that's going to give us the real knowledge of fear. Turning towards fear and learning experientially to be with it, learning how to completely erase, and this goes for all emotions really, the popular labels of dark versus light. Fear is a dark or difficult emotion. Joy is a light emotion. We tend to put all of those emotions that are sticky, unwanted, perhaps shadow emotions don't reflect how we like to be perceived, into the category of darkness, because darkness can then become a hidden cave that we can try to push things into, rather than simply trust that we can meet whatever arises with a quality of kind neutrality. We might also call it love, welcome. Curiosity, by the way, is an absolute expression of love. When I go into the garden where I grow some of my own food, I don't go in imposing all of my ideas and agendas and judging what I see. I go in with this quality of absolute curiosity, paying subtle attention, listening to and learning from. That's how we work in partnership with life. So I would invite you, Sarah, to consider, how do you work? How have you learned through your practice to begin to work more in partnership with fear, rather than holding an adversarial relationship with fear? Okay. One of the images that you've heard me use before, if you've worked with me for a long time, that I think is so helpful when it comes to fear, but when it comes to anger, difficult emotions, is the seashell. So hardened, closed on the outside, always underneath with this soft, vulnerable, perhaps more powerless expression. And so consider for yourself, everyone listening, how often have you, out of fear, operated instead from that hardened shell? Maybe the shell of, I've got to try to control life. That seems like very hardened energy. It feels hardened in the body, rigid, trying to control life. Maybe I've got to push away, push something away, push someone away because I'm afraid, and that carries a hardened energy to it. Maybe out of fear, I'm going to actually act aggressively towards someone or something. So being aware of that which is the hardness on the outside, and being willing to, as I shared in meditation, listen more to the deeper currents of our experience. Remember that question, or set of inquiry questions. What is happening right now? And how am I relating to it? So instead of why do we have fear, how do we experience fear? How do we know fear is present? What happens subtly in the mind, physical body, emotional body? What are you saying to yourself when fear arises? What is the need not being met for the one who is afraid? And the beauty of practice, folks, is that through deep listening, we can then attend to that need. Sometimes it's not so clear. It's more just the gesture of opening our hearts to, then welcomes that in. Sometimes it's very clear. Sometimes expressing compassion carries great precision. Oh, this fearful one goes back exactly to when I was 7 years old, and that traumatic experience happened. And I know that this one needs to hear right now, again, as an expression of precision. I see you, I'm with you, and I will never let that happen again. Okay? So, Sarah, I know that we're going to have a personal conversation soon, and we can certainly go deeper in our inquiry. But thank you for this question today. And let's just all acknowledge how much more fear than 6 months ago there has been to be with as a collective during this time. And so just as I was saying, all the ways that people are either activating it through a hardened shell of aggression or othering or finger pointing or rejection, versus through our practice being with the soft vulnerability underneath. It's our shared vulnerability. It's our shared heartbreak. It's the place that we can rest into together. So I know there's some questions in the Q&A box, and yeah.
Yeah, we have a question from Jolie. My hometown is Portland. I'm sad and mad and proud and finding it so difficult to ground myself. I want to harness this passion, but my ego is loud and proud. I'm arguing more and it's feeling ugly. My stillness is elusive. The pain is even manifesting physically. I'm so drained. Any words of wisdom to help motivate and remind me to reel myself back in?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for speaking up, and my heart is with you. Just as a fellow human being and as someone who used to call Portland home, so much sadness about what is unfolding there right now. And that should be exactly the sign that says it is time to be a facilitator of peace. That's what happens when we bring our practice into the world. We become facilitators of peace. We take a stand for peace. We see the aggression, the incongruence, the I want to use the word stupidity right now, considering the US government's response to the pandemic in general. And it breaks our hearts. And this is exactly what I was just talking about regarding fear. We can either go into the reactive, hardened aspect of fear. I'm going to assert my outrage, which is a vital and valid emotion, but in an I versus you rather than we way. I'm going to react. I'm going to let my inflammation and agitation shake you up too. I'm going to collude with you and others in unhelpful, toxic conversations about fear and aggression. I'm going to add to the energetics of disruption, or I'm going to choose to stop, to pause long enough to really turn my attention fully within. This is the first step in non-reactivity and peace, in being a transformative practice, transformative presence in the world, turning our attention within and grounding there, listening deeply there, attending to the inner landscape and acknowledging all that has been perhaps disrupted, perhaps all that there is to allow to be illuminated in here. To start here within. And I would encourage you in a very disciplined way right now to make the commitment to ground yourself, to stay grounded, because the energetic field around you is so agitated right now. You can either participate in that and exacerbate that, or you can say, actually, as someone who knows that my quality of presence impacts the larger consciousness, and who knows that I have a choice in every moment of what I give my attention to here, on behalf of my love for this world, and on behalf of our shared broken heart, which is the cause of all this agitation and othering, I'm going to find my stillness instead, and to contribute to the larger field from the skillfulness of stillness. And you named in your question that you could see your ego wanting to get in the way, and consider that any time there's a drama, the invitation for participating in drama, there's a part of our ego who wants to. And so that's our conscious choice. The practice of restraint is what we call it in Buddhism. Knowing that you need you to be grounded right now. Your friends and neighbors and loved ones need you to be grounded right now. There is so much healing to be done in our world right now. This requires us to stay grounded and in deep listening. So for each of us, we have a question just to hold, an inquiry to hold. What is it that I need? And this can be a question you hold each day, but what is it I need to attend within and stay connected to the backbone of stillness while I engage with the world at large, while I engage with this ever-changing, groundless existence. Last thing I'll say to you is that soon I will be posting on my website a new blog about spiritual activism. And I speak quite a bit to how to translate the feeling you're feeling right now into compassionate action. So consider. Okay, let's move on to another.
There aren't any additional questions at this moment.
Okay. Well then, let's just pause for a minute and look within and just consider how people's inquiries today have impacted you. And just notice if there's any other inquiry or question that would help you to feel supported in your practice, supported as you move forth today. And I'm just going to look at a couple of comments in the chat box. And while you're looking within right now, let's return back to that very simple inquiry. What is happening right now? And how am I relating to it? Whether it's a sensation in my body, a nagging thought in my mind, a heart-breaking piece of news that I'm hearing. Can I meet this too with openness, receptivity, with the heart that has all of the space in the world to hold life? The heart that turns nothing away, leaves nothing out, and continually looks to see what is being left out. What else can I include? So that rather than walking through this life shielded by certainty, blinded by our conditioned beliefs, looking for evidence just to support that which we already know, we are literally positioned to step continually, moment by moment, into the unknown with reverence and respect, with inquiry rather than certainty. Finding our home in each step. Again, I'm going to pause and just acknowledge a couple of comments of thanks and gratitude. And I want to affirm for all of you that sharing this space together has been so meaningful, so beautiful. Your courage, your willingness, your generosity has meant so much to me, and as I've gotten to hear all the time from participants, has been so meaningful to one another, okay? So again, I've posted links of how you can work with me after this. And I'd like us to end today by closing our eyes again. Connecting with the breath. Again, invoking rest. Welcoming yourself and whatever is alive in this moment. And please now allow to come to mind one quality you will be reminded of today that you'd like to bring to the rest of this day. Maybe curiosity, maybe kindness, reverence for the mystery. Thank you, everyone. Please take very gentle and devoted care for yourself during this time. And please consider joining me for the 8-week journey. Okay, bye-bye for now.